When you hear the name Dove Cameron, you probably think of a few things, right? The polished Disney star, the poised pop singer. But behind that incredibly successful image is a story. A story of profound loss and, honestly, incredible resilience. So let's get into it, because to really understand the artist she is today, you have to understand the survivor she's always been.
I mean, we all know her from the Disney Channel, right? The hit show Liv and Maddie. We've heard her songs all over the radio. We've seen her looking flawless on red carpets. This is the version of Dove Cameron that we're all meant to see. The one who made that super tricky jump from child star to adult celebrity look, well, easy.
But what if I told you that the life she's built was founded on tragedies that would frankly break most people? This isn't just another story about getting famous. It's a story about what it takes to piece yourself back together after unimaginable pain, all while the entire world is watching you.
To really understand this, we have to go way back to her childhood. Before she was Dove Cameron, she was a young girl named Khloe Hosterman, and her early life was rocked by two events that would change absolutely everything. Okay, so at just 8 years old, she found out her childhood best friend had been murdered by her friend's own father. Just try to imagine processing that as a little kid. Then, only a few years later at 15, she lost her own father to suicide. These aren't just sad anecdotes. These are the foundational traumas that built the lens through which she saw the entire world. So how does a teenager even begin to cope with that much loss? Well, as she's put it, she didn't. Not really. Her main way of dealing with it was just to push it all down, to suppress everything. She poured all of her energy into her work, using acting and music as a way to escape a reality that was just way too painful to confront head-on.
And here's where you can see how that trauma physically manifested. She learned about her friend's death and her father's death, both over the phone. This led to what she calls major phone anxiety, a real physical panic she feels every time a phone rings. It's just a wild reminder of how these traumatic moments get literally wired into our bodies.
Now, this was all made even more complicated by the relationship she had with her father, even before he passed away. The environment she grew up in was often unstable, and that created a dynamic that would seriously influence her romantic relationships later in life. You see, her father struggled with untreated bipolar disorder. This led to a home life filled with these huge, unpredictable emotional swings. She's described it as constantly walking on eggshells, never having any idea what might set him off. The punishments could be extreme and come out of nowhere, like one day deciding to throw out all of her belongings. And this quote, "This right here is the key to everything." It perfectly lays out the psychological trap she was in. She wrestled with this exact question for years. Because if her own father, someone she knew loved her, could act in such a destructive way, it completely messed up her understanding of what love is supposed to be. It basically gave her a dangerous blueprint for what to expect from love.
In that blueprint? Well, it led her straight into a relationship that she would later call a trauma bond. Her engagement to actor Ryan McCartan was this very public fairytale thing, but behind the scenes, it was starting to look a lot like the unhealthy patterns she'd grown up with.
So when they broke up, things got messy and very, very public. He went online and claimed she cheated on him just 2 weeks after they got engaged. She never really responded directly, but she did like a tweet that said, "When a toxic person can no longer control you, they will try to control how others see you." And that kind of says it all, doesn't it? Two totally different stories playing out for millions of fans.
So what was really going on? Well, she eventually shared this story about being in a car with him. They just had a great night out with friends, and he turns to her and says that people like her better when she talks less. Wow. It's the kind of comment that's designed to make you feel small, to slowly chip away at your sense of self.
And yeah, that wasn't a one-time thing. She said he'd give her notes on how she acted in public. This constant stream of criticism got so bad that she actually started writing things down, documenting what was happening, just in case things got worse. She felt like the only person who would ever love her was this person who was also telling her she was terrible, a classic sign of a deeply controlling, unhealthy dynamic.
But this is where the story starts to turn. This is also a story about taking your power back. After hitting these absolute lows, she began this slow, difficult process of reclaiming her life and her own identity, starting with the very name we all know her by.
You see, her birth name is actually Khloe Hosterman. Dove was a sweet nickname her dad gave her when she was a little girl. After he died, she legally changed her name to Dove. It was her way of honoring him, of holding on to the positive, loving part of their relationship, separate from all the turmoil and pain. And it went way beyond just her name. She started to use her art, her music, as a real tool for healing. A lot of her songs are about exactly these experiences. So instead of suppressing everything like she did as a kid, she started expressing it, turning all that pain into her art. And by doing that, she took back her own story.
And that pretty much brings us to today. Her journey is definitely not over, but this latest chapter is all about this huge shift in how she deals with her past, all while living under the constant, intense pressure of the public eye.
When you really look at the whole arc of her story, it's a pretty incredible transformation. You have this young girl who felt like her only choice was to hide all her pain, who then became an adult who speaks so openly about trauma, about mental health, and about toxic relationships. She didn't find her voice in spite of all the pain, she found it through it. Which kind of leaves us with one last big thought. Dove Cameron's story isn't just celebrity gossip, it's this powerful look at what it means to be resilient. And it makes you ask, in this world of constant scrutiny, where every single move you make is online forever, what does healing even look like? And can you ever really move on when the world refuses to let you forget?